Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm your host Miss KK and this is The Wave. It is your weekly show that looks at topics related to personal, family and business finances, and really all we are hoping is that by the time we get to the end of these conversations, you are better equipped to make sound financial decisions. If you are new here, thank you very much for stopping by, and if you'd really love to hear more about the content that we're offering on this channel, please consider clicking the subscription as well as the bell icon in the comment below so that you can be always notified every time we upload a new video. And if you're already a returning viewer and subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support, interaction, as well as sharing the videos with your friends and family. This week, I'm very excited to speak about a brand new topic, which is property investment. Last week, we just ended off our MTC Share Enlightenment series, where we are looking at some of the key factors that you need to be looking at in deciding whether you must invest your money in the MTC shares or not. And if you haven't done so, please go back to our channel and watch those two videos. Today, I'm going to be sharing my mistakes that I made along the journey of buying the first property that we have, plus some of the lessons I've learned, and I'm also going to be highlighting some of the preparation aspect that you should be looking at if you are planning on buying a house. Because this is a broad topic, I'm going to be splitting it into 3 videos. The first video, which will be today's discussion, really around the preparation and the common mistakes that I made along this preparation process. The next video is going to be around the actual home acquisitions, the cost, the pricing, the affordability assessment, or rather the budgeting of the various costs other than the mortgage bond. And lastly, the last video is going to be the subsequent events that follow you buying the house, which means the maintenance of the house, whether you would potentially sell it, etc. So really what I want to discuss here is because when I started buying the house in the first place, I was clueless. I didn't know anybody that was close to me that had recently just bought a house, so I couldn't really just reach out and ask what the process entailed. I haven't really done my homework research about property investments and what you need to be looking at when buying your first property. I sort of was disregarding some of the advice I was getting from my bankers at the bank, and I was also keeping it a secret from some of my friends, because we all know, you don't have to announce your next move until it's through. So those are some of the things that really contributed to the journey, having mistakes. But the beauty of mistakes is we learn from it, we move forward, and ultimately we also can teach from our mistakes, like I am doing today. So the first thing that I realized that you need to actually be upfront with that is your investment strategy. I know I keep referring this to, or rather your acquisition strategy. I know I keep referring this in a lot of my video, but really strategy is everything. If you have a plan, you're likely to, your decisions are likely to be sound, and they're likely to be flowing in some sort of, manner. But if you're just doing things from there to here without any strategy, without any formula, you're likely to also do some costly mistakes, and it might be expensive to quit or to exit some of those mistakes. So when I started off looking for a house, I really didn't have a strategy. And I remember when I made my appointment at the bank, the lady advised me that, look, you're very young, you're buying a 1-bedroom flat, and 3-4 years down the line you'll be married, and this flat is not going to be practical, and you might actually lock in your qualification amount. Please reconsider this. I'm advising you to maybe consider buying a 1-bedroom house with an air vent, such that if you were to, your income were to increase and you were to get a family one day and you want to stay in that place, there's still room for growth. So I literally disregarded that advice, because I thought the lady was being ridiculous. I'm gonna have so much money, I might as well buy a 1-bedroom flat. But now that I think about it, it was actually good advice, and I'm glad that somehow, somewhere, I actually never went through buying that 1-bedroom flat. So I'm bringing this up because strategy is important. So you need to realize why are you buying this property? Are you buying it for residential purposes, for you to stay at that point in time, or are you buying it for you to stay at that point in time plus potentially in future, or are you buying it for rental purposes? Those 2 factors would determine what type of property you should be looking for, and what type of prices you really should be looking for when going into the property hunt. And also, don't just think about the present, the point in time where you are buying a property. Think about the now and also the future. If you are a lady or if you are a guy, you must think, at what point in your career are you, and what are some of the events that is likely to change the situation such that that property would not be ideal. For example, if you were to rent it out, would you be able to recoup enough money to be able to pay off your bond? Or if you are staying it for residential purposes and you were to get married and get kids, for example, if I had bought that 1-bedroom flat and I have a child and I want to stay with my child and my kids are growing up, would we still be able to live in that flat? That's essentially what you need to think about. And events such as giving birth, getting married, as well as wanting to subsequently arrange your house out. Once you sort of have an idea and have a strategy, you must sort of then start sort of looking at property viewing or house hunting, but not essentially house hunting for buying, but to just familiarize yourself with the properties that are in the area. Nowadays, it's so much easier to sort of house hunt because every property is being listed on Facebook or any other internet pages. So you can literally browse, spend hours and hours looking at the market, looking at the back of the newspaper, seeing the type of properties that are available in the market, seeing if there's new development coming up, seeing if there's urban being sold. So essentially you want to familiarize yourself with the industry, with the market itself, with the pricing, with the availability, with the specification of the products, of the properties that are on the market, so that by the time you're ready, you sort of can narrow down your search and you can get something that is really, really worth and befitting your needs. So the property viewing and property hunting is very important. But the mistake that I did, right, I contacted an agent and I told the agent this is what I want, and the agent got me a place. I went to go view the place with the agent by myself. I had recently just moved to that town, so that meant I wasn't really too familiar with the value of the houses in the different parts of town. And even if the agent were to take me to that particular flat with a certain route which was conducive for them, I wouldn't have known because I was new to the town. So that's exactly what happened to me. We went to the place using a particular route. It passed by a park, and then I saw some tongue twister. I saw some shops there and I thought this would be a really nice place because it's close to the park. If I have a child, the child can play at the park, and it's also close to the shop. If I want to really just grab something quickly, I can go to the shop. But at that point in time, I was super excited and I thought I found something that was within my range that sort of met my specification. Then I signed a sale agreement. But the lucky part, it was not legally binding at that point in time. It did not involve any lawyer. So it was just for me to say I've committed to actually buy this property, but then we can now commence the process of going to the lawyers, going to the banks, as well as getting the property actually transferred in my name. After I signed this sale agreement, I was super excited that I finally committed to something and I finally found something. And I casually mentioned it to my boyfriend then at that time, now my husband, and I said, I'm really excited, I'm buying this property. And the moment I mentioned the area, and he's like, but hang on, that area isn't nice. And I'm like, but we saw a park, we saw the cars, we did this. And it's like, I'm going to take you to the area that you're saying, but I'm not going to use the route that you took. Then we went actually using a different route, and I realized just across is like a bar place, and it's so loud and it's actually not safe. And I was just lucky that at that point in time, no agreement that I signed was really legally binding, and I could exit that agreement early without any penalties. And it also worked out in my favor that when the bank went to evaluate the flat, it was overvalued, and I was actually happily able to walk away from a costly mistake that I had done. So if you're going to be doing property hunting or property viewing, I'd say rather work through an agent that understands, actually an agent that you potentially have a relationship with, that you are comfortable that they're going to be representing your interest, plus at least involve a friend that's familiar with the place that can actually advise you genuinely from a friendship perspective, and also that can help you sort of navigate which area is nice, and can also tell you what's the value of houses in different locations. So that is the one mistake that I did, and that is I went to view the place just by myself with the agent. So once you sort of have the idea of, you sort of have the reason why you're buying the property, you have sort of viewed and checked the market, now you must now seriously consider getting your qualification amount plus your affordability assessment. So you could actually start with your qualification amount before actually property hunting. But the problem that I have with that is it forces you to just be looking at properties that are within your qualification amount. Whereas if you start looking first without actually knowing how much you qualify for, you can objectively look at both properties from the higher end, middle end, and lower end, and you can sort of see what price range you're going to be comfortable. Whereas if the bank tells you you qualify for 1 million, all of a sudden your view on the houses is like you're all of a sudden just focused on prices that are within the 1 million qualification. So really getting a qualification amount from the bank is very easy. You just set up an appointment with your banker or with the consultant, the loan consultant. If you don't have a banker, then they sort of help you fill in a questionnaire where they can ask you series of questions. What's your income level? What's your expenses on a monthly level? They ask you for like a bank statement. It may be 3 or 6 months for them to sort of just establish your spending pattern in order for them to work out realistically how much will you be able to comfortably pay on a monthly basis. But the thing is, with qualification amount, right, the information that you give to the bank is only as accurate as what you give them. So if you omit some information and the bank doesn't pick it up, you will get an overinflated qualification amount, and then at that you will actually struggle because by the time your actual expenses come out and the mortgage is due to be paid, your other expenses that you had lied about will creep up on you, and you really struggle to pay your bond. So my tip to you here is really be honest with the information that you give so that you are able to comfortably afford that installment come when the property is officially deducting from your bank account. Then lastly, you must look at the affordability assessment, not just in light with the bond, because remember that property has other costs that are not just the mortgage. You have your mortgage, which is going to be going off based on the price of the property and the interest rate that you are offered. Then you also have a credit life cover. That is normally the life insurance that a lot of us know. And also personally, I think I've made a video where I am gonna also leave the link here or in the description below, where I said I was overpriced, and it was because I was so desperate to get my home loan approved that I ended up just accepting the credit life cover that I got. Plus I actually never shopped around for the credit life cover nor the insurance that I actually got on the house, which is some of the mistakes that I did. But eventually I was able to get my credit life revised so that it can meet my specification and it can also respond to my needs. So you must also remember there's going to be rates and taxes that you're going to be paying on a monthly basis, and the rates and taxes depend on the size of your property, the town that you are staying in, and the part of town that you are staying in. So typical example, in Walvis Bay, if you stay in Quisibmund, your rates and taxes is going to be slightly lower than someone that stays in Naraville. But also if you stay in Naraville, your rates and taxes are going to be different from someone that stays in the Lagoon, for example. So you need to be mindful of what rates and taxes are you going to be paying. But thus the municipality or the municipality in that area, if you call them and ask them what's the rates and taxes on a property in this area at this size, they are generally able to tell you that, or the agent can actually tell you that. Plus, if you don't have really any idea of finding that information, you can also just look for property in that areas that are being advertised, because generally those adverts will also contain what the rough rates and taxes are going to be. So we've spoken about the actual mortgage bond, the credit life, the insurance on the house, the rates and taxes. You are also going to have utilities if you are going to stay in that house. That's your water and electricity. But your water and electricity, your water likely to come with your rates and taxes, and your electricity is probably going to be prepaid. Then you are going to have your maintenance cost. If your geyser breaks and you are the homeowner, you need to actually upgrade your geyser or actually fix your geyser. And if I think about any other cost, I'll mention it in my other video. So once you have your qualification amount, that will give you your mortgage bond that you're going to be paying. But do that affordability assessment for you and say, well, how much will I be able to pay? How much will I be able to afford if I take the mortgage plus all these other costs that we've discussed? And that is likely to be your cost of actually owning a house. Okay. The one thing I also want you guys to remember is your affordability assessment shouldn't also just be made at this point in time. You should also factor, just like your investment strategy and the purpose, the reason why you're buying the house. You should also factor into events that are likely to occur. Especially for us as lady, or for people that want to get married, you must think of, okay, now I'm able to afford this house alone. If I were to get kids, number one, and the kids' school fees comes in, the kids' nappies come in, the kids' daycares come in, will I still be able to afford this installment? Those are some of the things that we really just overlook at. The other thing that you also need to look at is, if we were to buy a car with the bank plus the mortgage that you already have plus this other cost, will you still be able to sustain your life, and will you still be able to afford the bond. So ultimately, you mustn't take a bond that is making your life so constrained such that you can't afford to take on any other project simply because your installment is too steep. So really, that's all I want us to take from this. So the mistakes that I've learned from my journey in terms of property acquisition, I tried to do it by myself without consulting friends. There's no harm in telling a few friends that are close to you and asking for advice regarding the potential property that you have done. If you have parents, please try and go view the property with your parents. They're likely to give you an objective view. And that's also the one thing. Shop around for insurance. I didn't shop around, ended up getting overquoted price, and ultimately got saved by a friend of my brother that ultimately ended up revisiting my credit life policy, and also not shopping around for interest. So, when I went, I was, like I've mentioned, the banker at my current bank at that time was really giving me advice that I thought were just useless, and plus I wasn't really happy with some other person that was dealing with my qualification letter. So ultimately I ended up changing banks, but in the process of changing banks, I actually never even compared the interest rate that I would have gotten from my existing bank to the bank that I converted. So also consider shopping around for interest, because if you are going to look for a new bank and asking them, you potentially want to come to them, they're likely to offer you slightly as a lower interest to try and get you as a customer, because they know once you have your mortgage bond with them, they're likely to ask you that your salary needs to be paid in the same account, meaning you now have a home loan account with them, you now have a current account with them, and you can potentially qualify for a car loan with them, plus a credit card with them. So that means they're interested in acquiring you as a customer, so they're likely to give you a competitive interest rate to try and help you convert. Really, that's all I wanted to actually put through in this preparation series. I hope you've learned one thing or two. Please leave in the comment below what were some of your mistakes that you did in the process of buying a home, or what are some of the things that you're scared of actually making a mistake in the process of planning to buy your first home. And then I'm looking forward to see you in future series. Like I've mentioned, if you don't want to miss out of this conversation, please consider clicking that subscription so that we can stay engaged, connected, and as always, stay safe. Bye-bye.